So I have a radical idea. I know Jimmy Dore likes to throw out radical ideas and hosts do. Yeah. I have a radical idea. What if labor only supported Democrats who had a labor background? Ron, do you think that would be a way for us? I mean, getting that accomplished is a whole other thing, but I mean, there's so much. I think the Democratic Party has gotten used to using labor. Even Democratic lawmakers who have been vocally opposed to some areas of labor, whether it's the gig economy, being supportive of Ubers and Lyfts and or big tech or the monopolies. But if instead of just collecting checks from labor, because, if you're a governor, the unions have to negotiate with the governor on their budget or whatever it is. So it's becoming a bartering situation. Instead of that, what if labor was just like, all right, from now on, we're only supporting folks who have a labor background, like are members of a union, which, by the way, I think it's a
great idea. I think treating yourself as a constituency rather than as a tool will make you more of a constituency and less of a tool. I do think that people like me are part of the problem, which is that, we're thinking of unions as these sort of beautiful, pure things, and that is absolutely not the case. We have some great people maybe coming up to take power, but no, the interests of management at labor and the interest of labor at labor are often not aligned. And you saw this, I would say, in 2016 in a very harsh way, in which many, many unions who overwhelmingly wanted to support Bernie Sanders, who was an extremely pro-labor candidate, found the presidents of their union in smoke-filled rooms deciding to back Hillary Clinton. And I think sowing that mistrust is why the Koch brothers story of maybe unions are bad, maybe you need a right to work is so sticky with working people of this country. Working people, a lot of them don't want a union. And I think that cultural problem is at the heart of what we're talking about.
And not to mention that unions, of course, are weaker. So even if there was an aspect of unionizing, how many gig workers are across this would love to be part of a union, but don't have that opportunity to do so because of these attacks by the Koch brothers.
And how about a living wage, irrespective of unionization or not? I introduced a bill late this past term to extend a living wage to incarcerated workers, gig workers, and workers with severe intellectual disabilities. And, the starting wage for an incarcerated worker in the state prison in Pennsylvania is 19 cents an hour.
And that's in a public prison?
That isn't, we only have government-run prisons on the state level. And so that will remain, I hope, into the next administration in 2 years.
Okay, so on this note, we're clearly facing a crisis of capitalism and extraordinary monopoly power and exploitation of workers and people, and we know the crisis that we're in. According to a recent survey, despite many partisan disagreements that exist, right, Americans of all political affiliations think that Joe Biden should not appoint a corporate cabinet. This is amazing to me because we were born out of capitalism. Everything is free market, free market, free market. Unions are and yet at the same time, the same Americans, many of the same Americans who criticize unions and think that we're all communists going to take over and terrorize the country are against corporate takeover of their government. Rep Rabb, I know you could probably pull some history here. What are your thoughts?
A little bit. Look, the reality is there's capitalism in China. There's capitalism in the U.S. There's capitalism in Ireland. There's capitalism in Scandinavia. There are different forms. Same with democracy. There are different representations of participatory democracy in different societies. But there are hardcore democratic corporatists who don't believe in the free market system because they know it never existed, right? That's a fiction. It didn't exist. But they believe in diverse capitalism, which is still capitalism. It just promotes consumerism and inclusion in a capitalist state. Now, there's a difference between saying I'm pro-capitalist and I'm pro-market-based economy. We've had market-based economies for millennia. It's the basis of trade. There's nothing inherently wrong or exploitative about that. Once it's exploitative and once it concentrates capital with the elite, to the exclusion of everyone else, that's when it becomes what we are experiencing now. And one of the issues with capitalism is not in crisis. Capitalism is crisis, right? Number one. And number two,
well said.
This is how it's supposed to work. And that is, capitalism, its defect from some people's perspective is that it doesn't create more capitalists. So if you have assets that don't gain in value, then you can't create wealth. And if you don't have wealth, you can't create more wealth, which is what capital is. Capital is wealth that creates more wealth. So the vast majority of Americans will never be capitalists because they will never actually get close to a capitalist reality and have wealth, whether it's a home, a business, a 501, not a 501c, 401k, right? They won't have any of those things, but they can consume and they can buy things that look like them, made by them, sort of, but they're actually not, they're not building, they're not part of the future. They're not part of any kind of shared prosperity because that's not what capitalism bears out.
And the inverse, of course, is that you're in debt, which fuels those who do have access to the wealth or are part of the wealth structures. Arun, you're a socialist.
Yeah.
Tell us. You're just like ready to go.
No, I think the most important thing you said, and to bring us to the present tense, as in like tonight and last night, is that this is bipartisan right now. And actually, the person who I see in the news talking about this is Tucker Carlson. I see him at the every night, after he's done, hating on immigrants and whoever else. By the time he gets to the end, he then talks about corporations that are out of control and that are capturing this government and that are capturing Biden's cabinet. And you're like, damn, that is some sticky stuff right there. Like that is some really nice frosting on what's otherwise a xenophobic, horrible nativist cake. And it scares me because whoever really grabs on this is going to find a long-term political message, not just 2022.
Right. It's not that, we've said this on the show before. It's not so much that we're scared of just the Tucker Carlsons. It's the movement that they're building, because the movement is what's scary. It's hard to disassemble a movement once it's been formed.
And they'll just bring in these people who aren't likely voters now. Again, the people who Democrats don't know how to get, non-voters, right. Less likely voters, the people who Trump managed to turn out and, keep shocking pollsters over and over again.
Thanks for watching and listening to The Nomiki Show. But remember to click like and subscribe on YouTube, and please share on social media. If you're not already a patron, please join us for as low as $5 a month on patreon.com/The Nomiki Show for early and special content. That investment makes a huge difference. We are not corporate media raking in the dough. It's really you guys that are keeping us going. So please consider being a patron. And to our current patrons, thank you so much. We are incredibly grateful to you. We also now have swag. So check us out on thenomikishow.com to get your mugs, your totes, and your stickers.